For a man that's been in it so long, it seems like your passion hasn't waned at all.
Not one bit. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. Absolutely not. It's my purpose. It's really like that, you know. Oh, yeah. Not a hug. Fuck COVID.
It's Coburg up late.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us in the garage tonight. He is one of the worldwide techno greats, having stayed at the forefront of the global techno scene for 30 years and still releasing a plethora of #1 hits to this day. His genre-defining and highly personal sound has cemented him as one of the most celebrated and enduring acts in electronic music. Please welcome all the way from Berlin, Germany, Thomas Schumacher.
Doof, doof, doof in the air tonight. House music from home never felt so right. Now your neighbors awake in the 3058. It's Coburg up late.
Okay. What does it say?
It says that you're healthy and we can start.
Brilliant.
Admittedly, I'm starting to see that it's quite problematic to check your temperature once we've already hugged.
Yeah, but, you know, I hope you enjoyed the process anyway.
I love the process.
Great.
Welcome to Melbourne.
Thank you so much.
As I could see from a shitload of videos that hit social media, Melbourne absolutely lapped you up at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl the other day.
Wow, that was quite special. I think for all of us, because not only it was just a great day and a great venue, but that timing, you know, it felt like the whole community coming back together and, you know, we're coming out of the woods now.
Totally.
So I loved it. It took me actually a couple of days to process all the images, you know, and what happened there. And shout out to Boris Brecher. He played an absolutely ripper set. And also the other colleagues on stage, you know. I think it was just, also the lineups, the timetable was done very smart. You know, I started actually a bit earlier. So people didn't have to wait for too long to let their hair down, you know. And
I found it so interesting that yeah, as you said, you started early, but it was the most banging, pumping techno. Is that normal for you as a traveling techno DJ? Are you normally being put on at fucking 4 p.m. in the afternoon?
Not really, but no, it's okay for me. I think, you know, I know that people have kind of, they expect something when I'm on.
Yeah.
So, and for me, when I go on, the party starts, you know. That's you know, I don't hold back, no matter what time it is, actually. And I think people appreciate that.
Did you have to earn that expectation?
I guess you do, yeah.
You know, like you couldn't have done that 25 years ago.
No, in the beginning, and I often talk to up-and-coming DJs, and I can see their predicament when they're often opening the night, and then people come to them and ask for, can you play this track, can you play harder, can you play softer? It's a very tough spot to be in, where I feel privileged, you know, because I play what I want, you know, but it also works because people have this expectancy, you know, they want to hear my tracks, my productions, and so, yeah.
It is a strange balance that a lot of DJs need to strike, because essentially, like, a DJ, I'm sure you'd agree, it's actually about the dancer's experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
No, at the end of the day, I think it's always like you're an entertainer for sure, but there's also this kind of in German we have this great word Dienstleistung, like a service part in it, you know.
Can you say that word slowly for us?
Dienstleister.
Dienstleister.
Yeah, which means like it's my job to make sure people have a great time.
Wow.
It's super important for me.
That's a fucking awesome job, by the way.
Right, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. It took me probably 20 years to really understand why I'm so good at it and why I love it so much, you know, because I realized there is just something that happens between me and the people. There's this exchange. And I think it has a lot to do with my understanding of what am I doing here? And it goes so much deeper than just playing tracks, you know. I think I sometimes compare it to being the captain on a ship, you know, and I'm steering the boat deliberately through rough waters, you know, and people have a good time, you know, and they all trust me that it's going to go out well, you know. So
it's like it's almost like looking at the music as a drug, but you're very safely guiding them through a trip.
Exactly. But within that, I want people to just let go, you know, and forget about daily life, you know, and just join me on that ride. And when that works, and that worked very well last Sunday, then it's just magic, you know, and everybody goes home is super happy.
Thomas, just all of this talk, you strike me as somebody that views dance music. Well, let's step out for a moment. I think the general consensus on dance music from a public perspective is that it's very much a hedonistic affair.
Yeah.
You strike me as someone that views it much more holistically.
I guess I do, but I also really believe that hedonism has a big part in it. I think it's one of these spaces that we need as human beings to live that side in us. And I think it's even more important than ever to protect these spaces. There's a reason, for example, why in Berlin, when you go to the clubs, that they put stickers on your cameras and you can't use it. It's to protect this space, you know, and to allow people to just be themselves and be hedonistic.
Wow.
But then that's one part, but there's also more to it, of course, you know. And I also understand now that as someone who represents this music worldwide, it comes with a responsibility, for example. And so this pandemic was a big test for us as a scene as well, because obviously very quickly we were the black sheep. Even though they shut us down immediately, it was still like super spreader events. I was like, how is that possible? We were the first ones that got shut down for a reason.
Yeah.
Actually, in Berlin, the clubs shut down before the government forced them to. They said it doesn't make sense to stay open at this point here.
Wow.
Yeah, they did.
How's that?
Yeah, right.
But the clubs are still being portrayed in the media as the bad guys.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Whereas what I saw is a very responsible reaction throughout the whole pandemic. Always understanding that this is just not a great time for partying. And still, we were just always the black sheep. But I think we're coming out stronger than ever.
Great.
Because like when we look back, I think people will see that we did the right thing and we waited and we're patient. Patient?
Yes, correct.
Exactly. And passionate.
And patient and passionate. Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for collectively going through some kind of trauma, if we call it that, and finding a newfound appreciation for whatever you're doing beforehand on the other side of it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I already had a taste of that last year in July, August, when we were allowed to start partying again.
Was that back in Europe?
In Europe, exactly. And that
we weren't partying in July.
No, I know. You guys had it so much harder. It's just a reality, you know. So, but what I experienced, that was very much related to what I experienced last Sunday at the ball. It was just like people were really excited again, and they appreciated that this is possible. Because it used to be just, we all took it for granted. You can go out, party, like basically 7 days of the week, right? And no one would have ever thought that all of a sudden we can't do that anymore.
It is such a foreign concept,
right?
When you think about
and
it,
obviously then it got much worse because all of a sudden you couldn't even go outside or meet with friends. Right. So, so I think that's what you suggested before. This pandemic is not just negative. It also has its good sides. We learned a lot about ourselves and probably how we can also do things better in the future. And when it comes to what we do, nightlife, I also like to see us become a little bit more aware of what we're doing and how we're doing it, you know?
Right, as opposed to just mindlessly going out 7 days a week because you can.
Exactly, you know? I think there's a lot that speaks for being a bit more responsible, actually, while you're just you can do both. I always tell people, you know, you can have so much fun and live out your fantasies and still take care of yourself or other people around you, you know? So, yeah.
That's beautiful, Thomas. Well, I would be honoured if you would help me live out my fantasies right now. That was my attempt at a segue.
Wow, okay, where are we going from here?
It's a children's show, don't get the wrong idea.
Okay.
Well, in playing some music with us right now, what kind of music are you hoping to play in this beautiful space today?
Your studio is so amazing. Congratulations, I really mean it. It's just absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking forward to playing here with you. And
thank you, Thomas.
I have decided to probably only play very old music, like 90s techno, a lot of classics, but also some more obscure tracks.
Wow.
And as I said before, I'll make it probably a little bit more difficult for you mixing-wise today. So don't take it personal.
Okay.
It's just, you know.
Yeah. But you're here to sabotage me is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect,
so,
perfect.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen, and I hope people enjoy.
Me too. We have DJ Thomas Schumacher, one of the worldwide techno greats, or just electronic music greats, standing with me right here.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. Take it away.
Alrighty.
Rejoins-moi dans mon rêve, mon voyage vers l'imaginaire. Je vogue dans les limbes, tout y est calme et tranquille. En ouvrant les yeux, j'aperçois un arc de lune. Ses couleurs permutent et tournent comme un kaléidoscope. Je n'ai pas peur. Je me sens unie à l'univers. J'émerge des vagues. Le corps nu.
It does, it has that very 90s vibe. There was a different style of arrangement and production back then. Because whilst electronic music has definitely progressed, I still think that the limitations of technology still created some really unique styles back then as well. And I will try a discussion with him next time when his headphones aren't on.
Je fixe toujours l'arc de lune. Sa clarté titillant mon corps et m'envoyant des signaux qui atteignent mon cerveau.
So Thomas, why music from the 90s? What's inspired today?
I guess because that's where I really started, and that just.
Je suis paralysée.
I guess all these sounds just really are the fundament of what happened later in my life, you know. And I think lots of the fundamental techno tracks, you know, that some of them are like super classics, and so yeah, they always touch me in a special way. And I do believe everything just goes in circles, also in our scene, and I can play these tracks in special moments in my sets, and people just go completely off, you know. So
And when you say goes in circles, do you mean like cyclically in terms of musical trends?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now in Europe we have this just new wave of a mixture of hard techno, fast techno, with trance,
Wow.
and it's super popular among
Like
very-
145, 150.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a very young crowd, and they just go off on it, and they love it. And for me, it's just fantastic to see that, you know. So it just shows how relevant our music is.
Yep.
And I think it's so funny because for them, they rediscover this. And for me, it's like, I remember
Totally.
when we played it back in the early
Totally.
90s, you know.
Yeah,
so
like Acid Revival. Acid came back big time from about 5
absolutely.
years ago.
Acid a couple of years ago. And what I love is always this remix that happens when styles that would never go together in the past, all of a sudden, for this next generation, they're like, I don't care. I just, you know, just mix it.
Well, that's the best part about the cyclical thing you're speaking of. Things don't completely go back to how they were. They reinvent.
Absolutely, and it sounds fresh. And what is great is for someone like myself who's been in the business for so long, it allows me to also rediscover these tracks.
Wow.
You know, like I heard some trance tracks lately that when they came out, I really didn't like them. But nowadays, I'm like, you know what? In hindsight, now I like them.
Is that because you've had so many years of experience since that it's new? It's like a new song contextually, or is it because it's different production style?
No, I don't think it's the production style. It's just the context has changed, you know. And look, at a certain age, when you're younger, you always want to kind of be, you want to separate yourself. You want to be unique, and you're very opinionated as well. And I think, you know, now that I'm a bit older, I look at it, I'm like, you know what? That's all right. You know, I can see the quality in something that I couldn't in the past, you know, because it was just not cool enough for me. So, yeah, it's good.
That's amazing, Thomas.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I'll let you continue your mix, sir.
Right, yeah, 40 seconds. Woo.
See, when I said you were here to sabotage me, it's actually the other way around.
Very tricky one. As you can hear, they slowed it down at the end. Just imagine when you play that for the first time and you're not aware and you're in the mixing and you're like, what? Oh. Yeah, so these nice things that they still did in the early 90s. Like, what a great idea, right? I'm just going to slow this down. But I'm aware of that.
You cheeky fucker.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're like, I'm pretty sure in Australia that's a compliment.
Okay, maybe you have to bip this, but how often people call me cunt here in a positive way? It's just like, first time I heard it's like, did you just say that to me?
In this country, we call our mates cunts and we call cunts mates. That's a rule.
Oh, that was something else in the past. We were doing a trip to the countryside with my partner back
to
then.
the matry side.
Yeah. And we go to this little pub, and the female bartender calls my partner mate. I was like, she call you mate? Yeah, that's all right. It's just like, didn't call me a cunt though.
Oh, I guess you're not in yet.
Obviously.
Look, you know you've done well on this show if I'm calling you a cunt halfway through. Until then, it's my turn, mate.
All right, yeah, go for it. Good luck.
Did you want to tell us a bit about this tune?
Oh, super classic from 1992. The project's called MARMION and the track Schöneberg, which is a part of Berlin. And honestly, without this track, most of what later became trance would have never happened. It's just one of these, absolutely, it's a blueprint.
Well, I actually noticed that even though we're playing at 128 beats per minute now, you've got it super slowed down.
Yeah, that was originally, I think 134, something like that.
Right, because I know when I think of trance, I'm imagining that really fast.
Absolutely. And it's just, you will hear, it's very melodic later on, but it's never cheesy. It's just a great track, and I've never stopped playing it actually. I don't play it a lot, but there are always like situations where I'm like, oh, this is nice now, towards the end, or like if you play Sunset set. So yeah.
And Berlin, you haven't always called home. You were born and raised in Bremen.
That's right.
What was it like moving to the techno capital of the world?
Ooh, what was it like? Well, truth being told, we never moved there because it was the techno capital of the world. It was more for private reasons. Wanted our daughter to grow up like in the capital, go to international schools, just this vibe.
Yep.
Whereas Bremen is a lovely kind of smallish town, 650,000 people live there.
Yeah.
But obviously I played a lot before we moved in Berlin, so I always knew music-wise how amazing it is. And
sure.
The longer we lived there, the more obviously I started to really appreciate it. And it is fantastic. It's just like that. Another side story is though, I travel so much all around the world, play everywhere, but often I feel like I came so far, but actually it's so much better in Berlin. Not in Australia though.
Admittedly, actually, when Thomas rocked up, you did say that nothing compares to our flora and fauna. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. That is true. But you know, you have more things that speak for a country than that.
There's that melodic component you were talking about. It's always an interesting, you know, in terms of back-to-backs. I'm not sure how often you do it, but letting a song breathe, you know.
I'm glad you got that. It's like the worst thing when you play like a huge track with a massive break and a back-to-back, but the other one just doesn't realize it.
I do love that you were
polite.
polite.
Mixing in and you go already like you're like, really? Is that what you want to do now? Is that
But
your
also,
plan?
a testament to how polite this gentleman is. You still didn't fucking say anything. They're like, oh, okay, look, I guess we're in his house. We're in his rules.
No, it's the German way. Afterwards, you know, we have a small conversation.
It's never cheesy because it's never overstated.
Exactly, that's it. You know, it's just it's such a right balance. Always this, yeah, and it makes you feel great. It's very positive, you know.
Yeah, you have said before that dancing is like the ultimate for you in terms of feeling good.
Oh, absolutely. Pure dance. It's just the music and dancing, that combination. Really all it takes, you know. I mean, feel free to add other things to the mix, but I personally am just happy with that.
Your Highness, do you mind if I mix in a song yet?
4 words for you. Don't fuck it up.
I was keen to play this one. This is a Melbourne artist. His name is Rory Marshall. This was a single he put out last year. It's called F.U.S.E. Carl Cox was getting around it. Love your work, Rory. Absolute banger.
Sounds ace, absolutely. Great mix.
Just a shout out to you, Rory Marshall. You really are one of the most talented producers in this city, and it's an honour to know you and to be able to play your music. That was fucking awesome. A final backspin. We've got DJ Thomas Schumacher on Coburg up late. That was incredible.
Yeah. A little bit of show time here, you know.
You've had a bit of practice.
Yeah. I love this track. It's really cool.
Now, I'm not precious like you, so you can play whenever you want.
Thing is, this one is also from 1991, and production-wise, it's just like, look, the bass is just completely in, I compare it to the other one,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it has changed so much and all these.
So you know on the V10s, I haven't experimented with it yet, but there's this compressor function, and I'm pretty sure that's to account for like older productions.
Yeah, that's the idea. Let's try it. Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on the V10?
Huh?
You like the V10?
I like it. Hold on, let's just put this into a loop while we're talking. And but as I said before, it's worth reading the manual because it has so much more to offer than the 900 Nexus 2.
Yep.
So yeah. All right, let's release this loop here. And yeah.
Play this at the bowl?
Did I do what?
Did you play this at the Sydney Mine
No,
Music
I
Bowl?
didn't play.
Ah,
play
okay.
that. Yeah.
I recognise it. Was this quite an iconic tune at one point in time?
It was a what?
Was it quite an iconic tune at
Oh
one
yeah,
point in time?
absolutely. This is CJ Bolland.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. The track is called Hosepower. So, and it was originally released on one of the most iconic techno labels in the early 90s, RNS Records from Belgium. So, yeah. Just so good.
An iconic record that I would love to chat with you about is there's a great one of your tunes that was huge in Melbourne is When I Rock.
Ah, thanks. Yeah. That's really how it all started for me. That was released in 1997. I'd already released a couple of records by then, but that one just went like, it's just exploded. Thanks to Carl Cox. It was released on Bush Records, and I know he was always close, Carl, with the guys from Bush.
With Eric Powell.
Eric Paul, exactly, and his partner back then. And look, when you think back, when it was released, it was not a sure shot at all. This combination of hip-hop, scratching, rap, techno.
I think that's why you made such a dent. Because you stood out, right?
Yeah,
Like, where were
exactly.
you hearing hip-hop, scratching, that ravey sound? It was
No
really
one had
raw.
done that really, no,
Yeah.
and the purists were just like
Yeah.
offended. They were hating on it. But the thing is, when you have someone like Carl starting to champion it,
Yeah.
that changes everything. And he played it on in his sets, but also on the BBC Radio 1 in his radio show.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it became such a worldwide hit. And that allowed me to tour across the globe as well for the first time.
So that was your first time becoming an international act.
Absolutely. Before that, I had a good success in Germany, but not outside. But with that track, it immediately changed it.
So a life-changing moment for you.
Yeah, I'm always grateful to Carl for really, having just knowing, feeling this could be such an important track, And
Wow.
and it's amazing that it still sounds so relevant and people still
Totally.
play it. And
Totally.
so, nice one.
It samples the Roots, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Did they ever hear the song?
Yeah, they did actually.
And
I was lucky because I didn't even think about clearing the sample. It was from a Tony Touch mixtape, so I didn't know who was rapping, and it was.
you also probably didn't anticipate it becoming world famous.
No, and so I remember. Hold on, while we're talking, I remember getting a call from my publisher back then, and they're like, "Look, you gotta call this number in the United States. It's about the samples that you took for When I Rock." I was like,
Were you a hip-hop fan at the time?
yeah, huge hip hop fan, but I was just not aware what was going on, and so I called that number, and I ended up talking to, I think it was one of the producers from the Roots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was so cool. He was just like, he had never heard techno at that point. He was like, "What is it, dude?" He always called me dude. What is it, dude? I said, "It's called techno."
Just like how Aussies call you cunt.
But he was really it was so interesting what you did with the vocals and how you chopped them up and sped them up, and I could see there was this mutual respect.
Oh, wow.
Sampling culture is huge in hip hop as well.
Yes.
So it was just great to talk, and the sweetest thing. And then we were just talking, but he didn't really show his cards, what's going to happen, and they could at any time have sued him.
Wow.
What they decided to do, they included When I Rock on their album Chronology. I kid you not.
No.
Yeah, it's called Thirsty. It's the last track on it.
Oh, they renamed it?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Did you get any... I mean, is it too much to ask for royalties for that?
No, look, but... yeah, I think it
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I was happy with the sales of When I Rock, and so... this is your playing, right? Ooh. You hear that? What they did there? The guy?
They slowed it down and then sped it up.
He sped it up. I mean, again, why would you do that? Yeah, this is obviously...
I think when they made it, they weren't anticipating that the DJ would be locked in a conversation.
That's true, but still, even without that, it's just, you don't do that, It's just...
Now, Thomas, I'm willing to let you mix out of this one if you want, so you can actually have a spin.
Okay.
What have we got here? What's going on?
Oh, come on. That is uber classic. Joey Beltram, Energy Flash, also released on R&S Records, and so, yeah, what can you say? It's so epic, and it's pure techno DNA. Like every element in it, from the drum programming of the 909 to this, when the bass starts,
That's such a great way of looking at it. Pure techno DNA. Can you tell me what constitutes techno DNA? and
this.
This.
Please, just listen to it. It's just... Especially in 1991, that was so futuristic in a way as well. The sound, who plays a sound like that? Nowadays, it's probably the most normal thing, but back then we were all like...
Isn't that what set techno apart? Was its future, this robotic, non-human, almost sci-fi kind of feel?
Absolutely. It was sounds that we just hadn't heard before, at least not in this context.
Right.
And what also sets it apart, obviously, for the first time, there's music without lyrics, vocals. It's instrumental for hours, and that was just unheard of, because even during disco times, there was a lot of vocals in this.
Totally.
But when like Detroit, Chicago techno started, that was for the first time just instrumental music.
Right.
And so it's so amazing. For the first time, we were allowed to just enjoy the sound and feel the beats. Because when vocals come in the game, it's just a completely different thing. You start to lock in.
It becomes a mental game rather than a body game.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you try to understand what the vocals are saying. I don't know, but just like this, it's very pure.
Thomas, that was when I fell in love with electronic music. I used to play in punk bands and love metal music. But the big switch for me was when I stopped thinking about it and started feeling it.
That's it. It's always the best. Like when people connect emotionally with something, it's also the best when I play with people, when there's this moment where I can see we're just locked on the same frequency here, and then I can just take them from there to somewhere else, and so that vocal ecstasy. I mean, one has to say, that combination of this vocal and the first time people were taking drugs, ecstasy was just like killer combination. So yeah. Love this track. It still sounds so fresh to me.
I gotta say, for a man that's been in it so long, it seems like your passion hasn't waned at all.
Not one bit. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. Absolutely not. It's just really... It's my purpose. It's really like that, Oh, yeah. Not a hug. Fuck COVID.
And we've already established that you're fine. Okay. Let's see again now.
Okay,
things have heated up. Okay. You've actually gone up 0.2 degrees.
Omicron.
Omicron.
I'll let you do a real mix now, Thomas.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'll allow it.
You're such a kind cunt.
I'm putting that in my testimonials. Put it on my gravestone. DJ Thomas Schumacher, you're such a kind cunt. My mother is going to love this episode. Expert level, mate. This is pretty recent, this redo, isn't it?
This is actually the original. That's why I picked it. Yeah. But you will notice it's actually what Enrico and Charlotte did. They stayed kind of close to the original. They kept all their main elements, just the bass line, the kicks and stuff are, up to date. But I still like the original. It's just super epic. And another one that never really left my record crate, so to speak. Even when I transitioned from vinyl to CD and later USB sticks, always make sure this is available for me to play.
For those that don't know the Age of Love, could you paint a cultural picture for us about what this was and did for electronic music at the time?
It's one of the most important tracks from the first half of the 90s for our music. I think this again is one of these tracks that kind of paved the path, was later became trance. On another,
it's a splinter song, right? Because this can go into techno, can go into trance,
absolutely,
right?
Which was totally normal back then. There were so many tracks that were just combining genres that didn't exist at that time, really. So it was also the most normal thing to just mix styles so much more.
What an amazing time in music to be there for it.
Super exciting. The other thing is it was one of these Balearic tracks. Like you would hear that on.
By the way, that's the first time I've heard it pronounced. I always read it and I'm like, that word is beyond me. Balearic?
Yeah, so Ibiza,
right,
but also the other islands around there, that was just what they were playing.
And does Balearic, that's kind of like daytime chilled out beats, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually both as well, but it's definitely, I think what you think of is a bit more chill, Vocals so good.
Dance with me, move your body, dance with me, move your body, your legs a bit.
Oh yeah.
So good, right?
Oh yeah.
By the way, thanks very much for pointing out this compressor function. It's fantastic. When you play old tracks like this.
And is that working right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we just, for everybody's sake, see what it sounds like without it?
Is that crazy?
Yeah, right.
The alternative would be to crank up the gain, but that doesn't do
it. Would do a different thing though.
Yeah.
So what compressor would do, this is my limited knowledge of compression, would pull up all of the quiet elements and make them loud and keep the loud elements as they are.
Pro. That's exactly what it does.
I pretended it's a limited knowledge of compression. It's a passable.
Wow. So, but now it's your turn. So, just don't let me down, please. Okay. No pressure.
Actually, now this to me is techno DNA. It's kind of almost tech house DNA as well.
And this is it, everything, right? You hear so many elements in
those.
They don't be...
Tell me you haven't heard that a million fucking times.
Absolutely, but back then...
But it's good.
We were all like, what is this? And then someone figured out, let's call it a snare roll. But done with a 909 roll, like, oh my God. So, yeah, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, as much as I love the kick drum, I'm sure you'd agree with me, Thomas, that the kick drum cannot exist without the breakdown.
No, just like absolutely, 100%.
These are my favorite parts of each track because this is where the excitement lies.
It's just it's so rich, when it, like emotionally rich. This track.
This is going to be a strange tie-in, but this is the trauma that we all recover from when it drops.
Yeah, so true.
those little key progressions as well. Like, there's a lot of elements to this track.
No, but key progressions, like, that became essential for Translator, where for techno that was a big no-go later on, you know, but yeah.
Is that true? Did techno start almost void of melody?
Yeah, very quickly. Well, my kind of techno, actually. Here we go. Coming in with Monica KRUSE.
I was actually hoping you didn't ask who it was, because I only bought it last week in anticipation of playing techno with the god of techno, and in my Beatport settings, I obviously didn't put in artist. So I know it is a song named Latex, and I can tell you very little about it.
Well, it's from my very long friend Monica. We got to know each other in 19...
Oh, you know this song?
Oh yeah, that's Latex by Monica. Yeah.
Oh!
Sorry. Yeah. No, I immediately recognized it. So yeah, it's such a great story. We met in 1997 in Berlin at the Love Parade on a truck.
Wow!
Yeah.
The Love Parade has made a lot of features this season. A lot of people are chatting about it.
Yeah. So kind of fell in love there for a moment.
Really?
Yeah. We had a good time.
Wow!
Yeah. And
Hello. Is there a chance Monica might watch this?
Pardon me?
Is there a chance Monica might watch this?
If I tell her.
Well,
Hey, Moni.
you can decide what you tell me based on whether you tell her.
Right, okay. Now, and the thing is, she is originally from Munich. Which is the south of Germany. I'm from Bremen, very far north. But then in the end, we all moved to Berlin. I moved to Berlin with my family, and we became neighbors, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Same neighborhood?
But nowadays, she has moved to... I think she's living on Tenerife. It's one of the islands off the coast of North Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, like 5 hours from Europe. And
wow, okay.
She loves surfing and all that, and just
awesome.
enjoys the sun there. So, but when she's in Berlin, you know, we try to hook up and.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Hook up socially, I'm sure you're referring to.
Okay. Meet for coffee.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. You know, I actually only chose this song because I loved the sound of it. And then
it's a fantastic track. I've been playing that quite a lot when it came out, and then it's just the whole mix is just really well balanced as well. Just technically, you can play it on any kind of sound system, and it really works well. And that's probably the best you can say about a mix of a track. It's just the elements are all sitting right there. And
speaking of elements, here's that snare roll from Age of Love.
But you see,
it's a modern song.
This is super now. We didn't do that in the 90s. The mini break at the end of the break is just something that started to become popular last couple of years. So
you know, whilst I'm a sucker for it, I love my cheap thrills, but it is you were talking earlier about what's cheesy and what begets cheesiness, and I almost think a mini break is pushing cheesy.
Oh, for sure. But, you know, it's got its place as well.
Yes.
I do it sometimes, but, I'm always torn on it.
It's a balance, right?
Absolutely.
And you really appreciate a mini break if you don't do it every fucking time, you know?
That's the point, you know?
Context.
Everything in moderation.
We've got...
When my mother said that to me when I was young, it was like, you know, you don't want to hear that when you're young. In moderation?
No, but
no, I have it all, twice.
Yeah. But I feel like now that you've gone full circle with parties, I feel like you'd probably echo your mother's sentiment.
Yeah. Yes, here we are.
Here we are. It's a ginger beer with lime. I'm on the waters. We're staying healthy. Yeah. We've got Thomas.
You were right all the way. Here we go.
Hey Thomas, we've got 15 minutes left. I'm not going to muddle up the mix anymore. I'd like to see you bang it out.
Okay.
Thomas Schumacher on Coburg Up Late. I gotta say, this has been such a profoundly positive experience for me, not just musically, but also personally, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself here. And yeah, let's have some more fun, right?
Take us home.
Yeah. Take it away, Thomas.
I love your... There's a...
When I start, don't disturb me. Rhythm that get your mind thirsty. When I rock, it's something to see. Something to see, something to see. When I start, don't disturb me. Rhythm that get
I love your... you have a... There's almost a hip-hop element to your mixing style.
Absolutely. I was really in the late 80s. I was really torn when techno came out. I was already into hip hop and also hip hop mixing and stuff. So for me, it was just I was walking a thin line for a while. What I should do, but then I decided for techno. But you can see also stuff like backspins and just enjoy that.
And yeah, I mean, just like that was less of a beat match and more of a like a cut.
Totally.
You know?
No, it's a cutting, exactly. But it's great because it seems like when you only live in a techno world, you seem like you have to always do this kind of classic transitioning. But I think also look at people like Jeff Mills or Underground Resistance when you see them mixing. The energy when you start cutting is so... Many of the samples actually were from one of these scratch records for hip-hop DJs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where they come from.
Like a sample record for scratching.
You had like these lock grooves and so...
Do you know what's interesting is that when I hear scratching, I thought it was made by literally like, that's the sound of the vinyl ripping, right?
Right.
But here it's actually been recorded and then pressed onto vinyl.
Exactly. And I did this whole effect of like you touch the turntable while it's playing, and then the needle is just going over the vinyl. I did that at home, so I ruined the needle, but I think
that's what we just heard then.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. I gotta say, this is such an honor to hear your methodology from you whilst playing the song.
Wow. Hey.
It's true, there's still nothing like this. Very creative mix.
Thank you. Yeah. So I can't play a set without acid in it. And again, we're talking about one of the most important acid tracks for me, at least. This is Substance Abuse. The project was called F.U.S.E, which is Richie Houghton on his label +8, 1991. It's just incredible how many super important records in that year alone were released, you know, that had such an effect on the development of our scene. You know, I remember when I heard this in a club, and it just like blew my mind. Like
This is obviously analog techno as well, right? This is
100%.
long before the Ableton existed.
Absolutely. But I must really say I have so much respect for Richie because he's always been such a visionary and so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And again, he paved the path for all of us then, you know. It just, we're all suckers for how he did it and, you know. So good.
You had before Thomas Schumacher was Thomas Schumacher, the artist, you were another alias, Electrochemy?
Actually, at the same time around, you know, it became like an alter moniker in 1995 because I realized I had such a high output. And so I did that for a couple of years. And there was one track called Child.
Which totally blew the fuck
Yeah,
up.
that was crazy.
Mate, I still hear that sample in everything.
Yeah, that was just, I found this sample on an old acid house record from 1989, an artist called Adonis. And it became a proper underground hit. And then a couple of years later, I did another remix of it on my own label. And that became, like, kind of crossed over. Like, these big room DJs started playing it in the mid-90s. And then all of a sudden, we got a call from Warner in Hamburg. And they were like, we'd like to license this. And we were like, these underground tech heads were like, fuck you, you know? And they were like, what about 20,000 euro advance? They're like, yes, please.
But even Thomas Schumacher has a price.
And it was such a sweet story because, I mean, we went for it, you know, but we had full control and artistic control over everything. But we didn't think much of it. And I remember I was shopping at Aldi. And I got a call from my publisher, and he was like, what are you doing, Thomas? I said, I'm just here at Aldi, you know, checking out. And he's like, you better sit down. So what's going on? He said, you're the highest new entry in the German pop charts, the number 10. You just,
On the pop chart?
On the pop chart. I get goosebumps when I tell you this story still. It's just,
Got some goosies, baby.
some goosies. So that was such a sweet story. Yeah, it became a pop hit. It was just the right time, everything coming together, and then things came like, I had no idea, I wasn't prepared, and then Warner calls me and said, so you ready for Top of the Pops? I was just like,
Wait, you
Yeah.
did Top of the Pops?
no, I didn't. He said, they hated me. I sent an Elvis impersonator. And apparently the producer of Top of the Pops was so offended. He said, everyone comes here from freaking Michael Jackson to, you know, and he sends an Elvis impersonator. And we were, you know, we were just like,
Wait, so you were booked for Top of the Pops, and instead of going, you sent an Elvis
yeah, with some dancers. I gotta find that footage so you will crack up. It's so funny.
Does that footage exist on the internet?
I haven't looked for it. I'm pretty sure. No, I saw it somewhere. I'll figure it out.
If we find it, I'll post the link below here.
Yeah. Hold on.
Now, Thomas, you absolute punk rock renegade, we've got enough time for one more tune after this, so take us home, mate.
All right, we'll do so.
Sorry, forgive me. I did say if you have successfully endeared yourself to me, I would call you a cunt. So, thanks for everything, cunt. Take us home.
Oh, I will. Thank you. So many stories I could tell about this one as well. So this is called Lust. And yeah, that I recorded that in...
Billie Jean?
Well, this is the thing. Is it or is it not? I recorded this in 1996 or 1997 or 1998. I'm not quite sure. However, I didn't sample it directly from Michael Jackson. There was this US band called The Residents, and they had this track called Call Elijah, and I sampled it from there.
Was it that before it was MJ, or the other way around?
I think the other way around.
So you did a double sample, essentially.
Well, I told myself I didn't sample from Michael Jackson, I sampled from these guys and felt very good about it until a couple of years later when we licensed this track as a part of an album to Sony Japan. And I was in Tokyo, invited, and we sit at this big table with all these guys, you know, and we're all, the deal was done. And then just towards the end, one of the guys from Sony goes like, so what about that last track? I was like, it's great, isn't it? He said, we have a feeling you might have sampled from Michael Jackson.
And you were able to get up and very confidently say no.
Yeah, but at the same time, I know I have to sign that, you know, any copyright infringements are on me. So in the end, we decided we didn't include it on the album because...
I mean, the thing is, it's 4 notes
Yeah, well, but
on a bass guitar that you could probably play and you'd get away with it.
honestly, you can replay it and then you're good to go with it. You will still have to pay royalties, but then you don't infringe any sample copyrights. It's always the thing, you know. Just can replay it, but at that time it was different. In the 90s, it was just a wild time for sampling.
Yep.
And look, I didn't.
I think it's great, by the way. I think
Yeah.
I think the 90s was the peak in terms of all legality and getting
Yeah.
away with whatever the fuck you wanted, you know.
Absolutely, but we also had to learn from it, especially I think in hip hop, because there was so much sampling done for tracks that broke the charts, and I think that's the moment where you have a responsibility as an artist to say, I'm going to share that with the people that I sampled from, you know,
Nice.
because often you have like the guy who played the bass here,
Yeah.
he should get that money. Michael, you know, he was a rich guy, but something
Sure.
like that. So, yeah.
I mean, this all electronic music culture is about pinching and borrowing.
Absolutely. Whether you do it directly by sampling or directly by replaying or
Yeah.
getting inspired.
Yeah.
It's like every weekend when I play, that is the foundation for my new tracks. You
Totally.
know? I come back to the studio, I'm like, there was this moment and I heard this frequency and I lock onto it. And then you produce a track
Yeah.
and maybe a year later you're like, that sounds a little bit like that track.
Yeah.
But you didn't steal it in any
No,
way,
of course
you know?
not.
It's just,
I think there's a dissonant relationship between our system and our culture.
Yeah.
Because the culture is about borrowing, it's homage, it's pinching this, pinching that, standing on the shoulders of giants. But our system doesn't allow it, and they try to monetize everything, which I should think is the death of culture in a way.
Oh, absolutely. Like these days, I get demos sent, for example, from young producers who are not so aware of the legal aspects of things, and they just rely heavy on samples. And they love, for example, which I love as well, to sample hip-hop vocals. But I'm always immediately like, this will make it almost impossible for us to release it, you know? We have to be extra careful. If it's US artists, they come for you so hard, you know? And regardless of whether
And this is a
you're-
man with experience.
Exactly, you know, so, but we find our ways always, you know, so. Well, hold on before we go any further. Since you've done so well here, and you're my new favorite Aussie cunt,
Oh, Thomas, you should
I will
have.
give you my official badge of honor. Look at you. Hey.
Thomas, that means so much to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again. So much
Now,
fun.
I got to apologise because this is so sweaty that it will fall off very soon. I mean, and it looks great in a tokenistic way. That was a nice gift. Do you have another one of them that I can borrow off and
Of
just like
course.
put on a speaker or something?
Absolutely. No
Thank
worries.
you so much.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for such an amazing hour. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to plug? Any more shout outs? Anything coming up? Anyone you want to say good day to? Or guten Tag to?
Good tag. Yeah, well, just want to say thanks to. Just look in the camera now, huh?
Yeah, let's barrel it, baby.
Yeah, thanks so much to all my Australian fans. I always feel so welcome here, all over the country, and it means so much to me that you always just show up and give me the best feeling. And it's just a pleasure to play in Australia. And I think I can already reveal I will be back in June for another tour. So thanks.
You heard it
And
here
I'm looking forward
first.
to seeing you. And also shout out to Hardware for making this all possible since 1997. Crown Castle, Richie. And Stable Music here from Melbourne. Fucking Techno.
Shout out to you, Kev, and shout out to
Yes,
you, Kyle.
Kev, Kyle. And yeah, once again, thanks for having me here, Cal. And all the best for your fantastic show.
Thank you so much.
All right.
One more time, it's DJ Thomas Schumacher. Give it up! Remember, whatever you do, may you do it with passion. And may we all truly endeavour to be kind to each other, the world around us, and ourselves. I've been DJ Be Kind to Other People with Thomas Schumacher.
Ooh, thank you.
Good night.
So that's so late. It was like, okay.
Okay, let me just quickly stop the recording.